foot down. This is a class place. Lee, can't take you anywhere. It's hot. It's usually cold in here.
I know.
You'll really be sweating tonight.
I know. That's what they were saying over here.
It's 15 till. I'd give it about 3-4 minutes.
Okay.
Here's your clock, yeah. I got about 2 minutes is all today. We're still out about one every week.
Everything Rexing 47. Check, check, check. All right. Can you hear me in the back? Where are my back row Baptists? Can anybody hear me back? I see one hand. Anybody in the very back corner, can you hear me? All right. All right, there you go. Listen, I don't want to have to scream. If you want to hit your little cups or glasses, I don't mind everybody talking a little bit. Hey, good day. Welcome back to the second meeting of the Little Rock Touchdown Club. Great to see you. Let's welcome Rawleigh Williams real quick. And we'll introduce Rawleigh here in just a minute. Rawleigh was talking about. I said, Rawleigh, he's done a little public speaking, and I said, just the size group. He said, no, this is probably, the biggest I've ever done. And then he goes, wait a minute. I spoke at your awards banquet 2 years ago when I won the Paul Lills Award. That was the biggest. So his two biggest crowds here at the Touchdown Club. So really excited to hear Rawleigh today. And his story is a very unique one, and he's a great young man. And so we're excited about that. I know it's warm. I've already had 20 people go, boy, you think you sweated last week. You could really be sweating this week. It's probably true. But they're working on the AC, so hopefully we'll get that down. The other comment that I got most is, what do you think everybody else is telling me to do? Don't forget the prayer. Yes. Last week I did listen to Gary. Gary worked all week on that Chad Morris prayer, and I didn't even give him the chance to get it. So, so I told him next time just walk up behind me. And but anyway, it's great to have Gary. It's always nice to have somebody that says the blessing. Chad Morris may think differently of me because of it. But Gary Underwood, come lead us in a word of prayer.
Thank you, guys. I was going to say that I was sorry I forgot the prayer, but I didn't forget the prayer. I was ready. I did almost come up and interrupt him. I thought he was having a stroke. He was sweating so much, Good to see all of you. Good to be back for another year. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the beautiful day that you've given us, the opportunity to gather together with old friends, make new friends. We thank you for Rawleigh being with us today. I ask you to bless him and all of his future endeavors. Lord, we just ask you to use every one of us today in your service and use this food to give us strength as we do that. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Gary. I do want to thank all of you guys and ladies who have joined. I think we were over 400 members in the first week before we even opened the door for Coach Moore, so that's outstanding. But please encourage some friends to join. That's how we can afford to bring in next week's Mean Joe Green or Rawleigh Williams and different things. I want to thank Mark Camp, who went up, flew up to get Rawleigh. But the only way we make this work is if we flew Rawleigh down. So there's all these things behind the scenes that cost money. So we appreciate you joining and encourage your friends, even if they can't come all the time. Man, join and support the Touchdown Club. Heard me say is that our speakers are $20,000-$25,000. Some of them now. Raleigh's not quite that high yet, maybe down the road. But Rawleigh. But anyway, so just encourage. You're really that lunch. That lunch is part of what the event is. So please understand that I know you could probably get the buffet a little cheaper someplace else, but part of it you're paying to be here and paying to hear our speakers. So thank you to our members who have joined already. Thank you so much, 50-Yard Line and all the other. Mean Joe Green's tickets go on sale next, this coming. Debbie, when do tickets go on sale for Mean Joe? 12:45 today. So there you go. And also for those he's not signing autographs. Rawleigh will sign autographs today. He's already signed a bunch, but Mean Joe's not going to do that. So for those who have purchased the right to have your picture made with him, he'll do that. Really looking forward to having him there. I know last week was Chad Morris not outstanding. I know, a lot of folks wish he'd have talked a little bit more football, but he talked about his life. I was saying, what he said, lives touches lives, touches lives. Hungry hog does what? Hunts best. That's exactly right. You remember the three things he said you can't get back? Time, words, opportunity. Oh, my gosh, we've got smart people in this room. We got some A students. How about that, Raj? Yeah, very impressive. Also, last week, everybody was so excited about Chad Morris being here. I know that one gentleman, J.D. McGee, where's J.D.? J.D. got so excited that he passed out here in the hallway, and we just wanted to make the announcement. J.D. is okay, right, J.D.? He's back. All right. Get this in. All right. Do want to thank our sponsors real quick. We're proud to be called the Little Rock Touchdown Club. Thank you to Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau for their support. Twin City Limousine, who picked up Rawleigh today. Greg Hatcher, Popeye, Dale Bennett, Wes Sutton, who always helps us with our guests. Thank you to Twin City Limousine. Please use them when you get the opportunity. CJRW, our Arkansas's largest full-service advertising agency. They've got clients from Hawaii to Florida. If your business needs a jolt, if you need something, these folks can deliver it. Shot of adrenaline, if you will. So doesn't matter boosting your business, building a website, PR, marketing, they do it all. Make sure and give them a heads up. Dan Sawyer is here today. Mark Raines, thank you, CJRW, for your support. 103.7 The Buzz, they interviewed Rawleigh today. They interviewed all our guests out there. We're so appreciative to Steve Johnson and Justin Akery and Wes Moore is out there, and having them here each week. And the person paying for that is Arkansas Urology and Epic Health. We thank them for being the sponsor for our radio broadcast. Remind everybody, guys, kick off to Men's Health Month. September 11th, free PSA and health screenings at the Little Rock Clinic, which is right down the street, and in North Little Rock on the 27th. So, guys, ladies, if you're here with your man, elbow him and get our test done. I do want to thank Arkansas Urology and Epic Health for their sponsorship. War Memorial Stadium. I know there was a lot of talk about what happened Saturday night, and that's unfortunate. But I was thinking, Rex, how nice it is. We do have a facility where we can have 40,000 people at a high school football game. So want to remind everybody, tickets are still on sale at War Memorial. I think you can actually go get the tickets. The ticket office is open. Also, this Friday, have you heard about the one hog call? Anywhere in the world, we're doing that Friday at 1 o'clock here locally. Grant, you need to come join me on that. I'll be there and some other players. Grant, I'm gonna start volunteering Grant for everything. Grant, touchdown club. At that deal, 1 o'clock when we all call the hogs, we're going to do it on the spot for the Miracle on Markham, where the Miracle on Markham 1 was. We're all going to gather there, call the hogs, and if you're a hog fan, that's what they're trying to do. They're also giving away Ole Miss tickets. Yeah, so Tusk will be there, and but anyway, Ole Miss tickets will be on hand. That's 1 o'clock at War Memorial this Friday, right there out on the field. Farm Bureau, Pulaski County, Todd Dennis, Stephen Reichard, thanks so much for their sponsorship. If you need a quote on home, life, car, you name it, they'll get right back with you. They're good people. Glad to have them back. They're also sponsoring our app, which if you try to go and find our app, we're having some issues with that. CJRW is going to help us get that rectified, but thank you, Farm Bureau, for sponsoring that. Dairy Queen, I see the Livelies are here today. How about the endorsement from Coach Morris last week? What did he say? He said he'd been eating good all week, but he let himself splurge. Did he get a blizzard? Is that what it was? Well, a Reese's outrageous, and you know exactly what he got there, didn't you? Well, anyway, thank you, Dairy Queen, and I understand the Cabot store is rocking and rolling. One of obviously the biggest opening in the history of the chain. So thank you, Dairy Queen, for your sponsorship. Verizon Arena, not only can you rent Verizon Arena for the whole thing, if Rex, if you wanted to sing, they could rent out the whole thing for you there if you wanted to. They also have 7,000 square feet of meeting space, AV, everything, tables, chairs. And if you don't know how to do an event, they'll assign somebody to help you do that. So Jeremy Flynn, contact Jeremy, and they'll help you over it. Some people don't think about that at Verizon Arena, so glad to have them as a sponsor this year. Big Red Stores. Big Red's been everywhere this week. You guys sponsored the Salt Bowl. You guys sponsored Roger's movie, which was outstanding. Roger got killed in his movie Antiquities this weekend. Matter of fact, Roger had Ted Danson, Mary Steenburgen come up to him and say what an amazing job he did in his movie debut. So how about that? So, yeah. So appreciate all the support of Big Red and their 40 locations. The newest one is coming on Highway 70 in Hot Springs. Thank you, Big Red. Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings, another one of those full-service firms, one of the tops not only in Arkansas but in the South. Business litigation, real estate, labor and employment practice areas. If you have a legal issue, find the attorneys. Here you can always find Judy. She always has about 4 or 5 other attorneys with her. It is my law firm. I can vouch for them from a personal standpoint, and great to have Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings on board. Did you see where our winner from last year got mentioned this weekend? He's trying to make the team for the Chicago Bears, Michael Joseph, who won the Cliff Harris Award. And I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough to make that 53-man roster, but they gave a shout-out to him winning the Cliff Harris Award. So thank you to Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. There would be no Cliff Harris Award if not for you guys. Crane Automotive, I know we got some of the Crane guys here today, largest dealer group in Arkansas, 19 dealers, 800 Arkansans employed. Tell Larry that you guys were here representing. He can't be at every meeting. Thank you, Crane Automotive. The Democrat Gazette, y'all hear what Wally picked Arkansas to go this year? 6-6. Y'all good with that? No? No? Thank you, Wally Hall. Next week, I think we'll begin doing, I knew that would start it off. Next week, we start doing all Arkansas Preps, our high school player of the week. That's right. Thank you, Amanda Copley, for that. Today, at the head stage, representing Simmons Bank, Chris White, who Chris is almost, you're pretty much a regular. If you're not here, something's happening. Something big's happening. Chris White, Karen Marine here representing Simmons. We couldn't do, with all the sponsors, they're all very important, but Simmons really helps raise all boats. Couldn't do it. Give them some business. Go and ask them for a loan. See what you can get back. But they're good folks, and I'm really proud to have Simmons as our presenting sponsor. Tell George we missed him today. But let's give Simmons Bank and all of our sponsors a great round of applause. You know, last week I lost my sheet. Remember me losing my sheet? Well, there were just a few people I missed, and it was the Embassy Suites. Beth Clark, Brant Bailey, who was our new go-to guy here. I'd actually flown somebody in who did our setup for the last 5 years to get us set up last week, and I forgot to recognize him, so I feel really bad. But Brent Bailey's here today, Ryan Terry, whose grandfather is Ken Turner, longtime coach of the Razorbacks. Matt Johnson, Fidelity Local 6 back in the back, along with his number 2 man, Aaron Garrett. They live stream all this where anybody, Rawleigh, if you wanted to right now text your mom or family, wherever they are in the United States, could watch this. So thank you, Matt Johnson. Dwayne Duncan took about 10,000 photos this past week. Dwayne, all the hard copies from Coach Morris will be available next week. Out in the front. Thank you, Dwayne. RJ Hawk Media Solutions, handling all our social media. RJ called the game at the Salt Bowl. That was really a challenge to deal with that on Saturday night. Also, Grant Garrett, I mentioned, was to make sure y'all go up and say hi to Grant. He's still shadowing. He's shadowing me to see if he thinks this is something he wants to do, but great to have him up here. And we've probably got 15 volunteers, men and women, who come in every Monday to set up. They are amazing, led by Debbie Wyman. So let's give our volunteers and our Touchdown Club staff a round of applause. I've got a few other folks real quick before we bring Rex up. One, Micah Strother. Micah, you were one of the ones I forgot to mention last week, and Susie Shin. I looked right at you and didn't introduce you from the Razorback Foundation, so great to have you guys here today. Thank you, Micah. And, you know, last week I talked about community. This club is about community. You know, it's about football, but it's about coming and seeing our friends. And see you next week at the Touchdown Club, hanging out, maybe doing business, maybe catching up. And so when we lose somebody that loves the club, I like to try to recognize them if we can. And if you can put a pic up there, that's Calvin Hagan. And Calvin passed away April 1st. He was 91 years old, I believe. And he was a legendary insurance man. When I got here as a former Razorback, Rawleigh, I'd heard about this guy. I'd heard of Hagan Insurance. And, well, I didn't know this, but his daughter Shelly told me today the one thing, he would always be here in a wheelchair in the room. I want that 50-yard line Touchdown Club membership and all my meals paid for. And so Shelly said it was one of the biggest things for him throughout the year. And so he's a guy who he started Arkansas Baptist Schools, which is now Baptist Prep, did a ton of charity work. He served our country, started with nothing, grew up in a home with no running water, no electricity. And I'm honored. You know, I'm honored that we do something that means something like that, you know. So anyway, I want to recognize, if you could, just hold your applause, Shelly and Chris Newkirk. Shelly is the daughter. I was just talking about Shelly. Stand up. Dakota Newkirk, who we honored in 2012 when he played as a running back. Is it running back or quarterback, Dakota? Receiver. He was our player of the week. Listen, 6 years ago, that's good for me even to remember. Dakota Newkirk. Son-in-law, Zach Welchman, who is the head coach of all things now at the same school that Calvin helped start, Baptist Prep. Zach Welchman, Rita Hagan, his daughter-in-law, and Debbie Hagan, oldest daughter. We just wanted to invite them to say we were honored that Calvin was here all those years, and he won't be forgotten, and we're proud that he was a Touchdown Club member. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, before we get to Rawleigh, we have a short little recap and a preview because football season is finally here. Let's give it up for Rex Nelson, everybody.
Yeah, it's game week, the week we've been waiting for. I don't have anything to recap. There wasn't anything of note that we much care about over the weekend, so we will preview. Now, next week, when I have a lot to recap, I know David is going to be giving me that dirty look, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. But, David, I can tell you, because I watch those speakers on the other side, Joe Green won't be that way. He'll be enjoying it, and when I get finished, I'm going to be like the kid on the Coke ad and say, "Thanks, Mean Joe," because he's going to be fine with all of it. So all I'm going to tell you is we've got a lot of college football in the state this week. On Thursday night, Great American Conference, which you know is kind of my bread and butter, going to be a great race this year. We've got Harding in Arkadelphia playing Henderson. Harding went all the way to the Division II national semifinals last year. They won 11 straight games last year. Henderson, meanwhile, has won 3 of the first 7 conference championships. So Harding at Henderson at 6 o'clock. And then Arkansas Tech and Southern Arkansas, who are both coming off very good seasons. That one's down in Magnolia at 7 o'clock. So you got 2 games on Thursday. Then on Saturday, of course, we've got Eastern Illinois coming into Fayetteville to play the Razorbacks. That is a 3 o'clock kickoff. So wear your sunscreen, and a little tip to you when it's that hot. Try drinking water at your tailgate party. Try drinking water. I know it's hard. I mean, the over and under, David, at Razorback Stadium on Saturday is how many people will be treated for dehydration. That's my over and under for the weekend, because we know how the game's going to go. We've also got Southeast Missouri State at Arkansas State. Like Arkansas State has done some massive end zone improvements. You may have seen the picture. They got that waterfall now. I think Blake Anderson should come out in a kayak going over those rocks, don't you? That would be interesting. I may suggest that. So that's in Jonesboro. So 3 o'clock in Fayetteville, 6 o'clock, I believe, or is it 7 in Jonesboro. UAPB is home. And thanks to our presenting sponsor, they will be debuting now what's now known as Simmons Bank Field in Pine Bluff. Simmons gave a huge donation for new turf, new scoreboard. It's going to be by far the finest stadium in the SWAC. Good for UAPB. Thank you, Simmons. Morehouse at UAPB on Saturday. And then our only Division III program and our only NAIA program in the state and our 2 newest programs in the state line at Hendricks in Conway on Saturday night. So this week, games in Arkadelphia, Magnolia, Fayetteville, Jonesboro, Pine Bluff, and Conway. No excuse. Get out and see a college football game, or be like me and get out and see 2 college football games this week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Rex. Ann Jensen Broadwater made the point. Next Tuesday is the meeting, not next Monday. Thank you, Ann, for reminding. So don't show up here Monday on Labor Day. Me and Joe is Tuesday. Also, our man Tommy Smith, who leads our morning show, always brings his yellow pad to take notes today, well, the speaker does. And so I just found out, Tommy, there you go, that Tommy's back in the back with his yellow pad. I just found out, I think it was Trey Shepp that texted me. 12 o'clock was supposed to be the time when Chad Morris put out who was going to be the starting quarterback. Did you hear about that today at 12 o'clock? Well, apparently he put out Cole Kelly or Ty Story. He did it again. He did it again. So that's okay. Listen, we know. I don't think. Matter of fact, I'm going to ask Rawleigh about Ty Story, one of his teammates, and see what he has to say. But nobody does introductions better than Jim Rasco. And what we'll do is Jim come up and introduce Rawleigh. And we'll give him our typical Touchdown Club welcome, and then we'll have some high chairs set up here and do a little Q&A with Rawleigh. Jim Rasco, everybody. Give him a round of applause.
Okay. David has given me 4 minutes this year to do these introductions, and my wife tells me I talk too fast, so I don't know. Well, we're going to work on that. Our speaker played his high school football in Dallas. Let me quote from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram reporting on a game played October 17th, 2014. Rawleigh Williams III led Dallas Bishop Lynch High to a convincing 42-14 win Friday over Fort Worth Nolan Catholic. By halftime, Williams, a running back committed to Arkansas, had amassed 120 yards rushing on 11 carries and 55 yards on 2 pass receptions, both for touchdowns. The backbreaker by Williams was a 28-yard screen pass he took for a touchdown only seconds before intermission. He finished that game with 209 yards on 18 carries, with an exclamation point being a final carry for a 33-yard score. Williams' second-half runs squelched any Nolan Catholic thoughts of a comeback win. In his senior year, he led the state of Texas with 2,814 rushing yards and 44 touchdowns. He was a semifinalist for the Mr. Texas Football Award given annually to the best high school football player in Texas. For his career, he rushed for a school record 5,023 yards and a record 71 touchdowns. In 2015, as a true freshman for the Razorbacks, he scored a touchdown against Texas A&M to put Arkansas up 21-13. The following week at Tennessee, he gained 100 yards on 14 carries, leading Arkansas to a 24-20 victory over the Volunteers. In the 7th game of the year, he suffered a neck injury that required surgery and sidelined him for the rest of the 2015 season. However, at the end of the season, the conference coaches voted Williams to the SEC All-Freshman team. Following his freshman year, he was named the SEC Academic Honor Roll. Now, so that you can hear more from our guests and less from me, I'll attempt to cover the highlights of his sophomore season in about 2 minutes. First game of the 2016 season, he rushes for 102 yards and scores the Razorbacks' first TD of the year. Second game, Arkansas beats TCU in 2 overtimes. He has 137 yards. Third game, 2 touchdowns, rushes for 121 yards. Against Texas A&M, 89 yards, 1 touchdown. Fifth game, 126 yards. The next week, a touchdown against Alabama. On October the 15th, Arkansas defeats Ole Miss 34-30, and Williams has 180 yards, including a 53-yard run, and he also catches a touchdown pass. He's named the Offensive Player of the Week in the SEC for the first time. On November the 5th, Arkansas upsets number 11 Florida 31-10. Williams rushes for 150 yards. One of his carries results in a 41-yard touchdown. He scores another touchdown and also catches 2 passes. He's named the Offensive Player of the Week in the SEC for the second time. But the best is yet to come. On November 19th, the Razorbacks outscore Mississippi State 58-42. In the first half alone, Williams has touchdown runs of 72 yards, 42 yards, 7 yards, and 33 yards. In the third quarter, he throws a touchdown pass to Austin Cantrell. For the game, Williams has 16 rushing attempts for a net of 205 yards, an average of 13 yards a carry. It's no surprise that he's named the Offensive Player of the Week in the SEC for the third time. In the last game of the regular season against Missouri, he has a 52-yard pass reception, and he rushes for 122 yards and 1 touchdown. Okay, David, I probably run over my time, so I'll close with stating that following the sophomore season of 2016, our guest became the first Razorback running back to be named first-team All-SEC since Niall Davis back in 2010. And lastly, he was named to receive the Paul Eels Award, given to the Razorback with the best perseverance.
Check, check.
Check, check.
All right, that works. Great introduction there, Jim. A lot of good information. I just got another text. So what I didn't realize I gave you guys fake news. Apparently that was from an earlier depth chart. He did announce the starter today. So I want you to raise your hand if you think it was Ty Story he just announced. Raise your hand if you think it was Cole Kelly. The answer is Cole Kelly is announced as the official starter. So, anyway, not that both of them are going to play. I have a feeling. Great to have you back, Rawleigh.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Any memories of that Paul Eels Award night when you came in? Because you remember the speaker, right?
I do. Archie Manning.
Archie Manning. Now he heard that Barry Sanders was coming to speak, and you sort of wish maybe you had a chance to have Barry Sanders. But Archie Manning's not bad though, right?
Not bad at all.
Now, what I thought would be interesting before we dive in, because we got a lot of ground to cover, and we'll try to open up for some questions too. Let's turn our attention to the screen over here. Tony Rankine over at KTV put together just some highlights of Rawleigh. And sometimes, it's easy to forget, but Rawleigh, you didn't, have as full as a career as you wanted. But, man, your time at Arkansas was impactful. So let's just watch a few highlights for a minute, just some of his great runs and while he was at Arkansas. It's TCU, right? Mississippi State. Watch this stiff arm right here. Watch this stiff arm. Boom. Four touchdowns in the first half. 150 yards of the 200 in the first half. They could not stop you. I remember that.
It was a good game.
And I think you've got one little play. Let's see if we've got that. That's TCU right there. That was, I think, 150, right at 150, I think. There. And watch the end of this where he runs over an LSU DB right about. You want some of me? Okay. Right, there's the other one. We'll watch a couple more plays. Look at the speed and explosion there. I thought we had your jump pass in there, but maybe we don't. That. So of course you had a nice game against A&M as well. Let's give it up for Rawleigh Williams for those.
Thank you.
So first things first, tell everybody what you're up to, what you're doing right now.
Well, I just recently graduated from college in 3 years with a finance degree. But I just finished my first week of grad school. I'm getting my master's in operations management.
So do you have what's sort of your goal? What do you want to get? What do you want to do when you finish with your degree?
Well, obviously I've always loved sports, and I've always been the guy that loves finances and loves the business side of things. So I've been blessed with a couple opportunities with sports agencies to become a sports agent and further my career in that.
Rawleigh, Judy Henry, Rawleigh. I was listening to, and also too, I asked him. I had to do this. I said, do you have a girlfriend? And he said, yeah. And I said, how many years? And how many years now?
It's been 3 years, and she's watching. So hey.
Oh, very good. Well, but what's her name?
Jillian.
Julian?
Jillian.
By the way, I asked him. I said, is she the one? He said, I think so. I'm just saying. That'll get you out of the doghouse for a few months. You better act good now. The pressure's on. Let's go back real quick to Dallas Bishop. You heard what the Rasco numbers. I mean, your senior year, 44 touchdowns, almost 3,000 yards your senior year.
Yes,
I mean, that is, in the state of Texas, that's pretty impressive. I thought it was interesting. They gave you a 3-star rating. Did that ever bother you that you felt like, you should have been higher than that?
I mean, it never bothered me. I've always been a kid that's just worked hard and let my game do the speaking. So I never really looked at all that kind of stuff. And now I have a brother who's a 5-star and who's #1 in the country. So it's cool to see him get the recognition he deserves.
Yeah.
But it all worked out well, so I can't complain.
By the way, we'll go ahead and mention that. His brother is the #1 safety in America, committed to Texas A&M.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, but that what obviously it's some great genes in the family.
Yes, sir.
Is he built like you? Is he a little bit taller?
No, my brother's 6'1.5", 6'2", so he's taller than me. He's slim, but he plays safety, so we're not really built the same, but we look alike in the face. So yeah.
Well, I thought this was interesting talking about his recruiting. You early on in your 10th grade year committed to Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
He asked about it. He said, what kind of reaction did you get when you booked Hugh Freeze this year? And I said, well, some people didn't like it. And that some people did, but you said, well, he said, you know what? This is what Rawleigh said. Well, wait a minute. He's got a connection to the club. Didn't he speak here when he was Arkansas State head coach? I said, yes, Rawleigh. That's exactly right.
Go.
So I thought it was a great observation. He recruited you. You committed as a sophomore.
Yes, sir.
That changed. Talk about how you got to your junior, senior year and the Razorbacks.
Right. So he offered me as a freshman, and they were the first school to really reach out to me, and that meant a lot to me as a little kid. And I've always wanted to play college football, so it meant a lot to me. And after my junior year, my recruiting process started to speed up a little bit, and I remember I started to get offers, and first Duke offered, and then Arkansas offered. And with Duke being the school that it was like, man, academically, this is amazing. And I remember that Coach Thomas at the time, the running backs coach, he was like, hey, man, I just want to get you on campus. Just come on campus. So we scheduled a visit, and I remember getting to Arkansas and being like, wow, like it was above anything I ever thought it was going to be. And, I mean, literally within the first couple hours of being in the state and talking to the coaches, I knew I had to come here, and that's kind of how that happened.
Now, Utah, that's worth a round of applause if you're a Razorback fan. Now, interesting. I asked him about who was your recruit? Who was the coach that recruited you? And talk about that transition.
Yeah. So Coach Thomas recruited me, and after I signed, 2 days after signing day, he left and went to the Saints. And then we had Coach Singleton. He recruited me to Oklahoma State. He came here 2 days after signing day. The next year, he leaves and goes to the Colts at the time. And then we get Coach Mitchell, and now the whole coaching staff changes. So I was involved with the team until this fall. So I've had 4 running back coaches I've worked with in my whole college career. So
that's very unique. Now, I was looking, I don't know if Razorback fans, a lot of people are excited about Chad Morris and the recruiting class he has. Well, some people forget that Brett Bielema had at least one. I'm looking at it right now. That class, your freshman class in 2011, I'm sorry, not 2011, 2015, was the highest rated class since 2011. It was rated 21, and that's ESPN. I can't remember. I think it was 7 4-stars. And so I'm going to throw out a few names that are still playing for the Hogs. I just want you to sort of give me, when I say these names, what really comes to mind. Okay. Yelda Froholt.
Freak.
He's
physically. Physically.
Right.
He's kind of crazy too, but he's a good guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he works really hard. Great leader.
started as his own defense, obviously, when he came in as a defensive player.
Now switched, and now he's going to make a lot of money one day, so I'm happy for him.
Ryan Pulley.
Super athlete, one of the best corners in the country, so he's another guy that's going to lead this team this year.
You know, that class also had three. They said it was the best tight end class in America. Yeah. And Austin Cantrell, what do you think about them?
Both of them are hard workers. They're both different. But
trying to get him back on the line.
Yeah, and he's a really good friend of mine, and I think he's going to help when he gets back healthy. He's going to help a lot on that left side.
The one name I want to throw at you, there's two. Dre Greenlaw, who's played about every snap since he's gotten there.
Me and Dre, we came in together, and we were both 3 stars. We were both the lower-ranked guys on the class, and I remember we always pushed each other saying, hey, you know, we're going to be the guys to make a difference, and he's still doing that, so I'm super proud of him.
And then last but not least, a guy we honor here at the Touchdown Club, maybe, no, it wouldn't have been the same year, but Ty Story. Ty Story, we honored him as the high school player of the year, that classification. Tell me about Ty Story, your thoughts on him.
Ty Story, he's a really hard worker as well. Regardless of any opportunity he gets, he's going to make the most of it, and I'm excited about him getting a chance to be able to play. And just like we said earlier with Cole, the fact that they're going to push each other to be the best, and I think that's going to help the Razorbacks in the long run.
You know, you look at you know, you came in and your freshman year, I don't know if you guys remember, 2015, you know, Alex Collins was a running back at that time, correct?
Right.
So Rawleigh started getting reps, and the Razorbacks had lost 3 in a row, and Coach Bielema was in hot water. Mm-hmm. You guys go to Tennessee, and you have a monster game. You have 100 yards rushing and we'd never beaten, right? I don't think we'd ever beaten Tennessee at Knoxville. You guys knock them off. You have 100 yards rushing. What do you remember about that?
I go out this game, and when it happened, it was a great feeling.
I asked Rawleigh, I said, you're okay if we show the play? And he said, yeah. And I just want to let's just take a look. I know it's sort of light in here. I don't know if we can turn down the lights a little bit. I don't know if Brandon's in here. Let's go ahead and show. This is at Auburn. What quarter was this? This third quarter?
Third quarter, yeah.
Third quarter.
It was at Fayetteville.
It was in Fayetteville, right? And basically, it was a you remember what play it was?
It was toss. We called it truck.
Call it truck. All right. That's fast play. Now, I want you to not to be graphic, but you can see by his arms flailing that you know that something's up. Here's a slow mo. That's a face mask right there, first of all. And then you look as you roll over. You can tell something's wrong. So tell us, walk us through what you remember, if anything, about that play.
It was just a toss play, and I thought that I could get the first down, and I made a cut, and I remember getting pulled by my face mask, and I just thought, just get out of it and keep going. And as soon as I got out the hold on my face mask, I got 2 hits on both sides of my shoulders, and I remember just falling to the ground, and my body automatically rolled over on its own. And I remember not being able to feel anything, but seeing my arms moving and looking up and being like, man, you know, I'm not doing that. And I remember literally probably like 30 seconds later, my mom was looking up. I was looking up, and I saw my mom, and then I saw my dad. And that was the toughest thing for me because as a kid, you always look at your parents for everything to be okay. And when I looked at them, you could see their face, and they were just as scared as I was. And I remember just kind of trying to get my feeling back, and eventually I was able to. And it was definitely just a scary day and one of a lot of emotions.
Yeah, did the doctors, I guess, as you're going back in that stretcher, just show the stretcher? Were they telling you, hey, we can't move, we got to?
Yeah, they wouldn't let me move on anything, and that was really frustrating because I was trying to convince myself that I could move. So it was definitely a tough time.
Did you think that was it? You think you were done then?
None of that came in my head football wise. It was just, man, let me be able to move. And you know, as soon as I felt like I could, it was definitely a lot of pain, but I was just kind of happy that I could feel everything.
And it was a neck injury. I know you're not a doctor, but in layman's terms, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I had a disc get pushed back into my spine, and they had to push it back in and screw my neck. I screwed my disc back in place, so that's why I have a scar in the front of my neck right here.
So you did that what month? How far after the injury did you do the surgery? Within a month or two?
Oh, no, the surgery was like 2 hours later.
Oh, so you did 2 hours. Okay,
yeah.
So it wasn't they didn't wait. So they did the surgery. Mm-hmm. So did your mom go, you're not playing anymore?
Oh, man, they were just like, don't even talk about it. So, you know, moms, they care about us more than anything. They don't care about football. So I remember it took me probably about a week later to really have a conversation with my parents. They had left Fayetteville, and I called them. I was in the training room, and I was like, hey, I want to play again. And, you know, it was a blessing to me that the response to that was, hey, you know, if that's what you want to do, we'll support you, and you just got to take a day at a time. And that really gave me the confidence to go out there my sophomore year and to be able to play without being scared of thinking something else is going to happen again.
Yeah, so when you go back after your sophomore year, you had no hesitation that first time you hit?
No, none at all. And, I've played football since I was 4 years old, so I've taken enough hits in my day, and, you know, I'd kind of gotten over that injury.
I'd asked Rawleigh, I said, besides Coach Bielema, who was your favorite coach while you were up there? And you said it was Ben Herbert.
Yes, sir.
The strength coach.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that because maybe you had to work a little extra with him because of your injury?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a really, really good guy. I mean, he's one guy that, you know, when you look at him, it looks like he's looking through your soul. So it's just he really knows a lot about you as a person, and he really cares about everything other than football. And so we had really just talks about life and about how to be a good man, and that was somebody that wanted you to spend a lot of time with in the off season. So we really had a good relationship.
I know your faith is important, so you have another chance to play again. So you come back your sophomore year, do you feel like, wow, you know, I'm blessed that God's given me the opportunity to play
I was
again?
extremely happy. I was extremely blessed. And for it to turn out the way it did, it was definitely a blessing to have a success.
Yeah, that sophomore year, you just start ripping it up right off the bat. You know, I asked some of the things that I was asking him. What was your least favorite play? And it was
the fumble against Texas A&M.
And you remember that? You know that you were having.
I remember.
You were having a great game, and you get down to the one, right? And that may have sealed the deal.
Yeah, it was like an 11-point. I mean, it was like an 11-yard run, and I thought I was about to score, and I spin away, and I get the ball stripped out, and that was really a tough moment because I was literally a yard away from the end zone. So yeah.
Yeah, was that had to be during your career? The A&M deal, just it was a booger, man.
Yeah,
it just could not get past it.
Yeah, it's something I hope we can get it this year for real.
Yeah, and then you know, you talk about maybe your greatest game was that Mississippi State game, which Jim was talking about, which we saw in the highlights.
Right.
I mean, that was one of those things to where if you don't even remember, it was like every hole nobody was touching. You were running for 70, 40. I mean. 4 touchdowns in the first half. What do you remember about that game?
I remember that was the one game that I never had a parent at. They were my brother had, I think, a playoff game, and I remember they were on a bus ride back to Dallas. And I remember texting them right before we went out for the game, and I was like, hey, it's going to be a great game. And I remember my dad texted me back and was like, I know it. Like, have a good one. And I think it was like the second play of the game or the second run. I went and took it like 70 yards. And I remember being like, I know they're seeing it like right now. Like, he told me it was going to be a good game. And it was just one of those games where you kind of feel it before, and you know that like nothing can stop you. And we had talked about it as an offense, and it kind of happened.
Well, that was probably good because I think we gave up some points defensively that game.
Yeah.
Talking about some of the players you played against that sophomore year, you said maybe the toughest player you ever played against was Reggie Ragland.
Yeah, and I think that was my freshman year. I remember it was a play against Alabama. It was just a dive up the middle, and the play didn't count, but we snapped the ball, and our offensive line didn't play the play, but their entire defensive line did. So everybody got through. They hit me so hard. And I remember I got back in the huddle, and Sebastian Tola says, hey, little bro, your helmet broke. And my face mask was hanging off my helmet. So I had to come out, and I was like, no, help me. And I remember I had a couple friends in Alabama, and their intro for all their games included that play for the rest of the season.
That's another team that just could not get over the hump.
I mean,
right?
They're one of the best in the country. So
right.
Hopefully we can get that this year again.
So you have you lead the SEC in rushing. You know, think about that. You know, again, back to Brett Bielema, you have Alex Collins, who was, I think he led the league in rushing or touchdowns or something. Then you turn around, you do it, and you look up, there's Darren McFadden up there, you know, and pretty darn good running backs, and you were one of them after that sophomore year. You had to be feeling pretty good.
I definitely did. I was in great company. That's one thing Arkansas has always had is running back. So it was definitely something that I wanted to keep going, and I'm looking forward to watching these guys come up, continue to do that as well.
Well, let's talk about going into what would have been your junior year, 2017. It was a spring game, right? It was a spring game. Let's go to Matt. Let's look here. This was something I was here at this. Sosa Agim hit you. It was sort of brushed you, really.
Yeah.
Here's a slow-mo. Again, there's that movement you don't want to see where the arms are down to the side like that. Immediately they go on to stabilize you. And I remember thinking while watching this, I thought, you know, that didn't look like it. Here he goes. He barely touched you, right?
Yeah.
So what do you remember about that point where you look you roll back? What's going through your mind there?
I was just thinking, not again.
Not again.
You know, I'd had a really good spring. I'd had a really good year. And that's what sucked right there. It was having my little brother.
There's mom and the little brother.
Yeah, and, you know, my brother was here this time, and, you know, he's the guy that plays football, and I just didn't want him to have to be scared when he plays. And I remember seeing him and seeing my family, and I was like, I didn't want to do that to them more than anything. And, you know, at that point, I was like, I don't know what the future holds. And, you know, we ended up going to the hospital, and again, I thought it was just a stinger. It ended up being way worse than that. And, you know, the doctors pretty much said, hey, you need to hang this up. And that was definitely a tough moment for me.
Was it when they told you that? First of all, your mom's there, your brother's there. You know, you're thinking, oh, no. How long was it before the doctor said, hey, this needs to be it? Did you first? I know the mentality is, hey, I'm going to come back like I did the first time. How long was it before the doctor said, man, you're not going to be able to come back this time?
He never really talked about it until after the MRI. And we had the MRI and everything. And he was like, hey, you don't need to do this again. And was kind of a tough moment for me because, one, in the back of my head, I kind of knew that this isn't normal for it to happen again. And then we found out that it was really a separate injury from the one before. That's what was even worse. It was because it was just like, how did this happen? So it was something that was tough. And, over time I've gotten able to handle it a little better. But it was something that was tough, and I had my family to help me, and I'm just glad to be here today.
Is Mom glad you're done just because that's what mamas do?
Yeah, Mom's glad that I can walk. Mom's glad that I can still live my life, and that's important to her. That's important to me, and that's the blessing of this all.
I mentioned the toughest player you played against. I asked about the best player you played with as a teammate, and it was
Frank Ragnow. Frank's probably one of the best people I've ever played with, and he's a guy that I really consider a brother, and we talk all the time. And he's somebody that's definitely going to work harder than anybody else, and if he sees you working hard, he's going to put it in his head, I need to be there earlier. And it was times in the summer where it would be literally me and him there at 10 o'clock at night just getting work in separately. It was a guy that whenever I was going to watch film, he was there, and obviously it's paying off, and he's going to be in the league for a long time. So I'm really happy for him and his success, and I know his family's proud of him as well.
I know Brett Bielema was your coach. Was it tough in 2017 to not be able to play? I mean, you guys had a lot of injuries, Cornelius and Frank, and you guys were falling left and right and just did not have a good season. Was it tough to watch that?
It definitely was tough, and especially for Coach B, because that's one that a lot of our players rallied around. And when you had me go down, and Austin Allen and Frank Ragnow and Jared Cornelius and Ryan Pulley, those are a lot of leaders on your team that went down and couldn't play anymore. And I think that really showed when stuff started to get tough last season, that we didn't have a lot of leaders that were supposed to be there.
Yeah, I was just going to ask how I went through that. I played under two different coaches, so I understand that transition. But you didn't get a chance to play for the second one,
right.
So you ended it with Coach Bielema. Do you and Coach Bielema still speak?
Over anything, and usually people that are good like him end up on top in the end. So I'm excited to see what happens with his career.
I know you went for a while. You spent some time with the Dallas Cowboys. Tell us about that experience.
That was a great opportunity. Just to see how the Cowboys run as an organization in the inside. And I got to build a lot of connections and meet a lot of people that I still keep in contact with to this day. So it was definitely an opportunity that I don't take for granted, and I'm looking forward to growing those relationships as I grow.
I hate to bring up, because obviously he's answered the tough questions, and I got a couple more tough ones. The game that hurt the most to lose,
Virginia Tech. That was the toughest loss I've ever had in college for sure. One, we were up at halftime and we should have won that game. But two, just to see the seniors go out that way, and what was even worse, is kind of funny, is the buses weren't running correctly or something. So we had to walk home after that game from the game to the hotel, and that was horrible because you're walking by fans, you're walking by everybody, and we just put on our headphones and put in maps on our phone, the hotel, and we had to figure it out, and it was horrible.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because again, that was coming off the Missouri loss as well.
Right.
So was that something that you heard Coach Bielema say? We're not going to make that mistake again the second time.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was something that they preached from the end of that Missouri game to VTech, and in the halftime of that game, it was something that they preached. And we all had the mindset that we were going to go out there and finish the game, and for some odd reason, we weren't able to do that. And that's something that it still stings with all of us. A year or two, I've known his family for a while, and he's a really good man over anything. He's somebody that the players are going to rally behind. He's somebody that's going to bring in an exciting offense. Coach Chavis, they're going to have a great defense. I mean, I'm really excited to see what happens with this staff, and I know that they're going to work their butts off for everybody to be successful, and I know that our team is going to do the same.
Have you felt the embrace of that they want ex-players to be around?
They do. They definitely do. They had that barbecue last week, I think, and they've had a lot of players come in since he's gotten there. So they definitely are bringing in a family environment. They definitely are bringing in a hard-working mentality, and I'm excited to see where it goes this year.
I had asked you're in litigation right now because of your injury, and one of the things I asked, obviously his attorney is not going to allow him to say anything, but I was just making sure. I was curious who was involved with that. Was it the U of A? Were they a party to that lawsuit? And you said that is not.
No,
correct.
That's not true. But they are helping as much as they can with the information that they need to give, and I mean, it's just a situation that we put in God's hands, and just have faith that it's going to work out the way that it should.
Gotcha. All right, let's open up for some questions. Johnny from El Paso, first of the season. Johnny was asked, for those in the back can't hear that, he's asking about how was he treated in comparison to what's happened at Ohio State and Maryland.
Right. it's tough when you see that because we're all in the same position. We're all college athletes that just want to, get a degree and make our families proud. And when you see other programs being ran like that, I know it's tough. And I can honestly say we've never had anything like that happen here. We've had, with the new staff and the past staff, a good group of guys that really care about you. And they're going to push you, don't get me wrong. That's the kind of game that we play. But they don't push you to a limit where it's too far. And they always have your input. They always ask what's going on. So they're very in tune with what the players think, and they don't ever push you to do something that you shouldn't do.
I failed to ask one thing I meant to ask you. When you got there, the coordinators that were there are not there anymore. For example, Dan Enos, right? Dan Enos is now at Alabama, and then you've got Sam Pittman, who's now at Georgia. Yeah. Talk about maybe how that impacted, losing those guys impacted the team.
Yeah, Pittman, that was really tough. Up until that point, we really had one of the best lines in college football. And, when he left, it kind of hurt us a lot, and we lost a lot of depth, and we just lost what Pittman brought to the table. And with Enos, I think Enos was a really good coordinator, but, when things start happening up front, it kind of makes you change what you do in a scheme. So that's something that I hated for both of those guys, but I'm happy for Enos for his opportunity, and obviously Pittman's doing really well. So it was something that impacted us, but we'll see how it plays out.
It's a little odd. I don't know if anybody's seen the thing with the Tide. Actually, Bo Mattingly is doing it over at on ESPN2 about Nick Saban. And you see Dan Enos in there with their, I mean, it's sort of weird. Just you saw him coaching Razorbacks, a year ago, and now he's coaching the Alabama Crimson Tide. Next, yes.
How do I feel about the movie or Carter in real life? Oh, well, for one thing, Texas high school football is insane. I mean, when you look at some of these stadiums, it's just not like any other place I've ever seen. They take it really serious. I know growing up, high school football was bigger than college and NFL. And then second was college football. That's just how it is. And so with that comes a lot of politics, comes a lot of different things going on. I can honestly say, though, we played Carter my senior in high school, and they're high school kids. They're not grown men or anything like that. But they're serious, man. When you go to some of these high schools, there are some 6'8" freaks. That's just how it is. But I mean, that's where it's a lot of talent that comes out of that state.
Funny you bring that up. Also, your favorite player growing up was
Vince Young.
Vince Young at Texas.
I grew up. Don't hate me. I'm from Texas, but I grew up a Texas fan. And so watching that national championship game was definitely one of my highlights as a kid.
Yeah, that I was going to ask. There's a lot of people have made the comment about Arkansas needs to get in Texas more, and that's one of the reasons they hired Chad Morris. What do you think about that? The Texas players that you were at Arkansas with, did you guys feel like they need to be recruiting the state more?
I think the more kids you get from Texas, the better. There's a lot of talent in the state, and even you can see like this new staff, they're recruiting Texas really hard, and it's already starting to pay off with Mike Woods. I think that this guy's going to really, really be a good football player, and I think you'll be surprised with how well he does, and he's a Texas product.
Anybody else? Yeah. For those that are listening online, the philosophy, the difference between the two coaching staffs.
So, like you're correct. With Coach B, it was more of a strength-based program, and I think that for what he was trying to do, I think that was what we should have been doing. With Coach Morris, he is a fast-paced guy. We're going to have a fast-paced offense. We're going to have an attacking defense, and with that, you need speed, and that's something in this league that you have to have. They always say you'd rather have speed than be chasing speed, and I think that. And I think that Coach True, that staff, I mean, they do focus on it. They run a lot, and you can see it by the way these guys' bodies have been changing. A lot of guys look faster, and a lot of guys look more lean.
Would you like to play in this offense versus the offense you had, or doesn't really make much of a difference? Does this offense excite you?
this offense does excite me. I think that it's an offense that you could put up 50 points if you have the right people behind you. For me, I'm a running back, so I love running the ball. I loved having the I formation, round and pound. And when you have that and it works, it's hard to stop because you hold the ball all game. But when you can't have that running attack and when you don't have the people up front that can do it for you, it shows what it did last year.
I'm sure you talked to Rawleigh, your teammate. Is he excited about it? Did he feel happy about it?
He's really excited. I mean, Devon looks really good from what I've seen. He's lost some weight. He looks fast. He's really in tune, and he's leading that running back group right now.
Yeah, I think one more, two more. Yes, Ann. That was for those that know there were two different injuries, not the same one.
Yeah, I can't really explain the real details about it, but it was a different part of my neck and my spine than the injury before. And so that's how it was kind of frustrating to me, was that it wasn't just a reoccurring injury. It was a totally different one. Obviously,
it was time for your neck to finish with football.
Yeah.
Yes. Thumbs up. Obviously, going through that family is huge, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very blessed to have an amazing father, an amazing mom, and a little brother and a little sister that support me more than anybody else. And they're definitely the people I go to when anything is hard. And that was definitely a tough situation. Until this day, they're the people.
You know, there's something to be said when you have a kid who not only excels as a player, but excels as a human being. And you're a class act. You have been the whole time you've been here.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Is he not the kind of young man you want representing this state?
Thank you.
So we wish you the best in your future endeavors. If you ever want to come back again to the Touchdown Club, we want you back. And for those who are 50-yard line members and sponsors, want to get pictures with Rawleigh afterwards, let's do that now. If not, remember, tickets go on sale for Mean Joe Green in about 30 minutes, and we'll see you a big crowd next Tuesday. Another round of applause for Rawleigh Williams, everybody.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for being here.
Quicker than fast. See, I got it. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Really?
Where do you want to get?
Hey, Chris. I had an LREA corner going down there.